In the fading light of a turbulent Europe, as empires trembled and nations dreamed of rebirth, a storm was gathering in the rugged mountains and ancient valleys of the Balkans. It was the year 1912, and the world stood on the edge of a conflict that would reshape borders, ignite nationalisms, and set the stage for an even greater catastrophe soon to follow. This is the story of the Balkan Wars, two lightning conflicts, fought with the fury of centuries-old resentments and the desperation of peoples yearning to be free. A story of courage, brutality, ambition, betrayal, and the final unraveling of the old Ottoman world. For 500 years, the Ottoman Empire had ruled much of the Balkans. From the shores of the Adriatic to the plains of Thrace, from Macedonia to Kosovo, its influence shaped cultures, religions, and histories. But by the early 20th century, this once mighty empire was a shadow of its past power, weakened by corruption, internal revolts, and the rise of nationalism among its subject peoples. Serbia, Bulgaria, Greece, and Montenegro, nations that had once been vassals, had awakened, each driven by its own dreams of expansion, unity, and revenge. And beneath them simmered ethnic tensions and historical memories of lost battles, forced migrations, massacres, and ancient glories. In this cauldron of resentment, the idea of liberation from Ottoman rule was not just a political mission, it was a sacred duty. And so, in a dramatic move that stunned Europe, four nations set aside their rivalries and formed a secret pact, the Balkan League. Serbia wanted access to the sea and control over Kosovo and Macedonia. Bulgaria sought a vast empire stretching deep into Thrace and Macedonia. Greece dreamed of reclaiming ancient territories and securing its islands in the Aegean. Montenegro sought its long-desired expansion north and south. Together they agreed on one goal: drive the Ottoman Empire out of Europe. And on October 8, 1912, with the firing of a single shot on the hills near Podgorica, the storm of the First Balkan War erupted. Montenegro fired the first bullet, but within days, the Balkans were burning. Serbia's armies surged southward with breathtaking speed, capturing towns that had been under Ottoman rule for centuries. Their most emotional prize was Kosovo, a land haunted by the memory of the medieval Battle of Kosovo in 1389. Serbian soldiers wept upon entering Pristina, believing they were reclaiming the heart of their nation. Meanwhile, in the east, the Bulgarian army launched one of the most astonishing offensives in modern European history. They marched relentlessly toward the Ottoman stronghold of Thrace. Their target, Constantinople itself, the ancient capital that had resisted so many invaders through its mighty walls. At the Battle of Kirkkilis and then at Lubergus, the Bulgarians clashed with the Ottoman forces in brutal, mud-soaked battles that shocked observers. The Ottoman lines collapsed spectacularly. Panic spread through Istanbul. Diplomats feared the unthinkable, the fall of Constantinople. The world watched as Bulgarian troops advanced to within sight of the city's legendary defenses, but the ancient city would not fall. Ottoman resistance stiffened, reinforcements poured in, and disease and exhaustion slowed the Bulgarian advance. The siege stalled, but the damage was done. The Ottomans had been pushed to the brink of collapse. On another front, the Greek army swept through Thessaly and into Macedonia. For the Greeks, every village captured was a piece of resurrected history. Their greatest triumph came with the capture of Thessaloniki, a city of profound cultural and strategic importance. This victory gave Greece control of a crucial port and denied it to Bulgaria, sowing seeds of future conflict. And in the rugged mountains to the north, Montenegro fought fiercely, laying siege to the fortress of Shkodër for months in one of the war's most grueling campaigns. As winter approached, the Ottoman Empire was reeling from defeats on almost every front. Its armies had been shattered, its territory rapidly shrinking. In London, European powers scrambled to control the chaos, fearing the collapse of the Ottoman Empire would ignite a broader European war. After months of talks, an uneasy peace was signed in May 1913. The Ottomans lost nearly all their European lands. A new state, Albania, was created to block Serbia's access to the Adriatic Sea. Serbia grew dramatically. Greece celebrated enormous gains. Montenegro expanded its borders. But the greatest victor seemed to be Bulgaria, which had conquered much of Thrace and parts of Macedonia. Yet beneath this apparent unity, resentment was simmering. Serbia and Greece secretly agreed to divide Macedonia between themselves, infuriating Bulgaria. The Balkan League that had defeated the Ottomans now stood on the edge of disintegration. The dream of liberation had turned into a fight for dominance. And so, barely a month after the First Balkan War ended, the Second Balkan War began. On a warm June night in 1913, Bulgarian commanders gave a shocking order. Without warning, Bulgarian troops attacked Serbian and Greek positions in Macedonia. It was a bold attempt to seize disputed territory by force. But the plan backfired catastrophically. Serbia and Greece retaliated immediately. Within days, Montenegro joined them. Soon, Romania entered the war as well, attacking Bulgaria from the north. And then, in a cruel twist of fate, the Ottoman Empire, humiliated and pushed to the edge of extinction, saw its opportunity for revenge. Ottoman forces swept back into Thrace, retaking the city of Edirne that had been lost to Bulgaria only months earlier. Bulgaria, once triumphant now, found itself fighting on four fronts. Outnumbered, exhausted, and overwhelmed, its armies began to crumble. In just a few weeks, the Second Balkan War ended in disaster for Bulgaria. The Treaty of Bucharest carved up Macedonia between Serbia and Greece. Romania claimed southern Dobruja. The Ottomans regained parts of Thrace. Bulgaria, which had dreamed of dominating the Balkans, was left bitter, humiliated, and resentful. And that resentment would become a powerful force in the coming years. Across the region, borders had shifted dramatically, but the cost had been enormous. Villages were destroyed. Thousands of civilians had been killed. Ethnic cleansing, massacres, and reprisals left deep scars that would haunt the Balkans for generations. The wars had lasted barely a year, yet they transformed southeastern Europe forever. The Ottoman Empire lost nearly all its European lands. Serbia emerged stronger and more confident, but also more defiant toward Austria-Hungary, setting the stage for a confrontation that would explode in Sarajevo in 1914. The Balkan Wars did not just redraw maps. They lit the first sparks of the First World War. When the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, was assassinated by a Bosnian Serb nationalist 1 year later, the tensions created by the Balkan Wars fueled the continent's descent into global conflict. The Balkan Wars were brutal, fast, and driven by centuries of hatred and ambition. They were a prelude to the horrors of modern warfare, revealing how alliances could shatter overnight and how nationalism could ignite a continent. And although they are often overshadowed by World War I, the Balkan Wars remain one of the most important turning points in modern history, a tragic chapter where ancient dreams, imperial decline, and rising nationalisms collided with devastating force. In the mountains, rivers, and forgotten battlefields of the Balkans, the echoes of 1912 and 1913 still whisper one truth: that borders drawn in blood rarely bring peace, and the fires lit in the Balkans would soon consume the entire world.